I got this basic piece of wood that came out of a tree in my backyard, but turns out this is pin cherry. Not really fancy stuff, but and it has tough grain, a little tough to work with, but I think we can make that pretty nice. And since it's Christmas time, I think this looks like a snowman to me. That was an effort just to mount the block, which is fairly regular now, but it's just hand cut, so I just mounted it between centers. And all I'm really going to do here is maybe shape the bottom a little bit and make a recess that I can put it back on my Nova lathe job. So. I got it into round, created a recess for the Nova chuck with a nice little lip there that it can really grab from the outside. I made the ring concave so that however I finish the bottom, it'll sit more flat that way. I think we'll sand it and then probably finish up the bottom at this point. Now that I've got this round and remounted on the Nova chuck, I'll just segment it with my cutoff tool and then make a couple nice round, basically a head and a body, and then we'll work on a hat after that. skew chisel gives me a pretty decent finish to start with. Now I'll just hit it up with some, just doing some sanding now. Won't record that, it's kind of boring. Because of the species of wood I use, you can see some crafts, and this is just checking from, but the size didn't let me go much bigger than that. So I have some sanding sealer, basically shellac and alcohol mix that will help me fill those cracks. There's also a pretty sizable check here that I think looks like the crack goes all the way through the top. So I'll hit that with some super glue after I have it off the lathe. Freaked out because I spent 30 bucks on a small bottle of this special polish wax, whatever's in it. Mine is shallow wax cream, but by golly, it's this first bottle's lasted me a couple years. I make probably 40 or 50 ornaments a year, and several other turned items also, and just seems to last and last. You don't really use all that much when you go through an element. I also just cut up all my old rags into small squares because that lets me quickly just grab one, and it's a little kitchen towel, works fine. And you use a lot of pressure on this, really. It's a friction polish, so that means you really want to heat it up. Or we will heat it up. It will be quite toasty, and it really kind of burns your hands a little bit if you don't know how. So I use a thick rag on this. Last night I glued up this little blank for the hat. I love these little clamps. I got my DeWalt clamps in a package. Came 2 big ones, 2 little ones in a sale package at Home Depot. Can't remember how much I paid. Maybe around 20 bucks for 4 clamps. Didn't think I used these little ones very much, but I use them all the time for little glue ups. I drilled the center of this with a little small drill bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a kindred hole in this mounting block, so everything will be nice and centered. So that let me cut the radius down pretty close to the final dimensions of the radius, and keep a really good center, right? That's a real challenge when you're turning is, if you mount that off center a little bit, you're really going to lose a lot of material from what you can cut. So this allows me to keep these all, I want to say perfectly centered as you can get them. And I'm going to glue this one up, and then we'll be ready to mount and turn a hat. This technique, I can put the accelerator right on the wood. And the super glue. Whoop. Little dab will do you. Wow, that came out fast. Now watching going through my center into my other center. Accelerant's on. Baby's glued up, ready to ready to be turned. And I have a little strip of maple in there. I think you can probably see. It might look kind of like a hat band or a seam or something like that. Just a little added dimension for fun. So I got this centered as best I can on the lathe, and I'm just going to go to trimming it up. Alright, I finished that up with some carbide tools because this Paduke's really hard, really takes the carbide does a beautiful job trimming it down. You can see the little white hat band shows up a little bit better now. And now everybody's most fun part, sanding to get it down to a nice smooth sheen. I also checked to make sure it looks, it's just about the right size for my little buddy's head, so I think we're in good shape there. The hat brim is side grain, so I don't think I can make it too much thinner. Probably leave that a little bit thick, but that'll be okay. The last step is pulling the hat on. I'm not going to use accelerant on this, just going to take my time and using really heavy CA glue. Putting it generous. Now remember the top here, the head here is concave, so plenty of room for extra glue to keep down in there. I'm just gonna set it as centered as I think I can get it comfortably. Pressing down for a second, then I'm going to put something heavy on it for a while to let it dry. Hardly any squeeze out. Looks pretty good. Here's the final snowman. The body's made out of pin cherry, which has a lot of neat figure and complex patterns in it. The hat is made out of paddock with a maple strip in the middle for some added colors. I really love the luster on the wood, all shined up, ready to go. Great final product. Merry Christmas.